So there's a lot of implications, of course, to how the country is run, but in terms of public opinion, it doesn't really look like there's going to be a whole lot of implications on the election itself, because the people who are most concerned or most upset about this election or most excited about it, about the confirmation, are already committed voters. They're already behind Biden or Trump in the election. So we're not really seeing a lot of undecided voters being moved by this.
Right. Now, Chris, Republicans have one goal right now, to hastily push through Judge Coney Barrett's confirmation before Election Day. Is it fair to say it's a done deal, or can you see any recourse left for the Democrats to block this?
Well, 2020 has taught us anything, it's that nothing's a done deal and that lots of crazy things can and still will happen. But it doesn't look likely that the Democrats will be able to block the nomination. However, what Senator Harris said is correct. We do see in our public opinion data that a large majority of the country believes that the next president should be the one to make this selection, even if Republicans do legally have the right to put through a nominee.
Right. Now, we know that some of these confirmation hearings get pretty brutal, and we saw this clearly 2 years ago for the appointment of Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Does a nasty battle on the Senate floor color the tenure of a Supreme Court justice, a tainted honor of sorts, especially in the eyes of the public?
Probably not the justice themselves, but it can certainly damage the reputation of the court as a whole. The Supreme Court had remained for a long time one of the few institutions in America that the public still had a lot of trust towards. But starting with 2000 and Bush versus Gore, where the court decided in favor of George Bush and ended up handing him the presidency, we've seen the court's reputation taking some hits. The Kavanaugh hearing certainly didn't help their reputation, and if this became a bruising fight, it probably would damage America's trust in the court as well.
Well, so much has been said about how Judge Amy Coney Barrett's ascension to the Supreme Court cements a 6-3 conservative majority on the 9-person bench. But generally, how will that affect life here in the United States?
It's hard to tell exactly. I think a lot of it will depend on what happens in the election. If we do see Biden win and large majorities of Democrats take control of the government, the Supreme Court can act as a check against a lot of the policies that they try to enact, essentially sort of stopping the Biden administration from doing a lot of things they hope to do. However, if it's much more of a divided government, it probably won't have the same sort of impact because a Republican Senate would essentially be that check.
Now, Chris, the Democrats have vowed that nothing's off the table should they gain control of the Senate, and that's, of course, a big should, to retaliate against the Republicans filling the vacant seat. Many are taking that to mean expanding the court to include more justices. How realistic a scenario is that, and what's the national appetite for that?
Americans aren't totally in favor of the idea of expanding the court, but I think a lot of that is about Americans not really understanding what it means and assuming that the court, how it is sort of how it's supposed to be. But there is no constitutional statute about the number of justices on the Supreme Court. So I think that's still actually a battle that's very much open terrain, and we'll see how that develops with the American public if it comes to pass.
So very quickly, I mean, this is day one of a 4-day hearing. Do you expect any big surprises coming up?
No, the reality of modern judicial appointments is by the time they get to these confirmation battles, pretty much everything is known about the nominee. So it's unlikely there's going to be any big surprises. That doesn't mean there won't be dramatic moments. The Kavanaugh hearing certainly produced some of those, but not anything that really shakes the public's understanding of the institutions, nor anything that really, I think, changes the trajectory of this election.
Interesting.